Just a few months ago, the US and Iran were dangerously close to a full-scale conflict. The Strait of Hormuz, the world's most important oil choke point, was disrupted, oil prices surged, and fears of a global energy crisis was everywhere. But now, in a dramatic twist, Washington has temporarily lifted sanctions on Iranian oil exports. The US and Iran have agreed and signed a preliminary understanding aimed at ending months of tensions. As a part of this arrangement, the US has granted a 60-day waiver on Iranian oil sanctions while both countries negotiate a long-term agreement. But why did US do this? Because stability matters. Washington wants to avoid another oil shock, calm global markets, and keep negotiations alive. In return, Iran has agreed to allow greater international oversight and maintain free movement through the Strait of Hormuz. And that brings us to the second big development. The Strait of Hormuz has effectively reopened. This narrow passage handles nearly 20% of the world's oil trade, and when tensions escalated, the shipping costs and energy prices jumped. Now, with the traffic resuming and tankers moving again, global supply chains are getting a relief. For India, this could be a huge win. India was once Iran's biggest oil customers before US sanctions forced New Delhi to stop imports in 2019. Iranian crude is attractive because it is geographically close, transportation costs are lower, and historically, India has received favorable payment terms. Cheaper oil means lower import bills, lower inflation, and potentially reduced pressure on fuel prices. And Iran has plenty of oil to offer. The country possesses around 200 billion barrels of proven reserves, making it world's third largest holder of oil reserves after Venezuela and Saudi Arabia. It also has the second largest natural gas reserves on the planet. But before we celebrate, there is a catch. This sanction relief is temporary. The current arrangement only lasts 60 days until late August, and during this period, negotiators are trying to hammer out comprehensive long-term deal. This deal is far from guaranteed. Several issues remain unresolved. Iran wants frozen assets released and permanent sanctions relief. The US wants stronger nuclear inspections. Meanwhile, another major striking point is Lebanon. Iran insists that Israel's operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon violate the spirit of the ceasefire, while Israel says that it will maintain security operations there. In fact, negotiations nearly collapsed after Iran briefly walked out following strong statements from President Donald Trump. Qatar and Pakistan had to step in to keep the talks alive. Despite the drama, both sides eventually returned to the table and technical negotiations are continuing. And Vance says that the first round of talks were very productive. So where do things stand now? The Strait of Hormuz is open again. Oil tankers are moving. The US has temporarily eased sanctions on Iran. India once again has access to potentially cheaper source of crude, but for the next 60 days, because the next 60 days could determine whether this becomes a historic reset in US-Iran relations or just a short pause before another crisis emerges.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.